Okay, so I wanted to comment on this news article that came through recently about a Boeing company that states that Boeing company currently has some issues, like there are strikes going on, people are being laid off, and basically this company is struggling with its operations, right? And there is a guy who created an article for Atlantic that explained, they tried to research and explain the reasons of why that is happening in the company, right? And what he told to in one of his interviews is that, like in his opinion, in the result of his research, he found out that the main reason of those issues is the management team has become filled with individuals who speak the language of numbers and accounting rather than language of engineering, right? So that's basically his words. The result of the research he completed on this matter, and I just wanted to talk about it and give my take on that, right? So, in my opinion, what's going on there, like, is yes, we see these processes where the company that was originally run by, let's say, a talented engineer like, I don't know, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, right? So they all had some knowledge in engineering, like in both basically engineering and business, right? So those are very rare people, right? So they're very unique and they're very talented, right? So to be able to run a company as an engineer, right, and both as a marketing genius, and that takes a lot of talent and a lot of knowledge of both fields, right? So obviously we don't have a lot of such people in the world, right? And so company was able to grow to some point, right, in their development. But now the companies, these technological companies need to scale, right? So that's why I think yes. So we had engineers in the management, but I don't think this is necessarily a problem here, right? I think that the coming of managers and people who are more like capable in other fields, like in the financial sector, in let's say business, is a normal practice, and we will have to live with that because when the company scales, when the company when there are more companies coming to the market, like it's a natural process, like we can't avoid it. Otherwise, these companies we will not have enough people to run these companies, right? So that's, in my opinion, is okay, right? But I think the main problem here is something different, right? I think the main problem is that there is a lack of good communication between managers and engineers, right? So let me explain it a little bit. So I had this video on the channel about how managers think about the process, like basically that they more, some of them they envision it as more like a process of business of unloading a truck rather than a business of engineering, right? And they basically think like consumers, right? So when you go to the store or when you go to any place to buy something, you just look at price tags and the goods, right? And you're just shopping, right? So you're buying things you like, right? And like they think this way, right? So they look at the production, right? Like of this plane, let's say, and they see like, oh, it's a nice feature right here, oh, it's a nice feature right here, and they do their best to shop for those features to attract new customers, right? Which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? So, of course, maybe they don't know all of the nuances, but still they're trying to do this. Like, for example, in my experience working in IT companies, I see that people they don't usually like think about making some kind of cheap decisions, right? They think about how to grow the company, and they also think about risks, and they also try to avoid those risks, right? So when you like when I'm as an engineer told them about red flags, about certain problems, right? This is where they were okay with reacting to those things, right? But since they think as a consumer and they don't know a lot of things about engineering, the insights of engineering, this is where the issue starts, because they start to look at it from a consumer standpoint, and they start to oversimplify things, right? For example, at least how it works in IT, right? So the manager comes to developers and asks, like, what do we need to implement feature X, right? And developers then give the details about that, right? So they say, we need the changes in this module, we need changes in that module, right? And just list the list of these changes and the modules where it needs to happen. And then they also list the teams required for that job, right? And they list specializations, like we need a DevOps engineer, we need this developer engineer here, right? So like people of different specializations. And what managers usually do, right, is that since it's too complicated to create this plan where you have all these teams meshed into the schedule, right, and basically have proper coordination, they just get these numbers into a single number. Let's say the list contains like 30, 50, 100, right? So they just sum this up into like 300 main days, let's say, right? And they put this single number on the timeline, like, and they just say, okay, let's plan 300 main days, let's say, for this month of March, right? So they think about it as all of these people as just engineers, right? So we need to hire like 50 engineers. So they don't think about these guys as engineers from this department with these skills, right? Or engineers with this department with that skills, these engineers with different departments with that skills. They think about just engineers. And then these engineers can gain skills along the way, right, to complete that job. Whereas in the reality, every engineer has a specific set of skills, experience, and actual preferences where they want to be developing. Very similar relevance can be made to the home building, right? There can be plumbers, they can be electricity guys, or there can be roof makers, right? They all are not engineers, right? So they all are people with different specialties, with different professions. They have different skill set and different experience. So you can't mass them like together into a single thing. So, but unfortunately, managers, they tend to simplify this process and make it as like, oh, we just need this crowd, right? Oh, we can even outsource this crowd, right? So these guys are expensive, right? So we need to hire some people overseas that will complete that job. But the thing is that when people are coming, so first of all, they may not have enough experience, they may not have enough expertise in this particular module, in particular section, or they may not have enough, just enough skills to do that, right? So, and they will need to learn, they will need to find. So, in the end, more mistakes will be made, right? Less quality of the product that will result in less quality, and then in the result, you have like issues like we currently see in some of these IT companies, right? So now let's talk about the solutions, right? So I think the solution to this problem, the ultimate solution, is to make a bridge, right, between managers and engineers. So what this bridge looks like, right? I can see it this way. So managers have their own world of numbers, dollars, accounting, features, like they're consumers basically, right? In this market, they consume some features which engineers build, right? Whereas engineers are essentially builders who build those features, right? And when engineers provide information to product managers or to management staff, they need to provide it in a language that managers understand, right? So instead of talking about particular modules or particular things in details, right, they would rather provide some estimates in a very in a very like simplified format, right? So we need this change because it's needed for this purpose, right? We need this change because it's needed for this purpose, and have a list like that in the document they provide in the estimates. Then they should also provide risks, right? Because right now, like some engineers, they're like, oh, we need it can cost like anywhere from like 100 like man days, let's say, to 300 man days, and then the manager looks at it and like doesn't understand what's the difference, right? And they like start to assume things like, oh, maybe we can do like something in the middle, we can do 200 or something, right? So there should be clear explanation, right? So, for example, we can do this amount of man days, but that will be this risk, and you can measure it like 70%, like 50%, and then here we have another thing, another model, and or another estimate, and that will be like, let's say, higher or lower risks risk, and another estimate will be, for example, higher than that, right? So, and then the consumer, basically the manager, will have to decide what risk they want at this point. And I can assure you that if they see that the risk is too high, the quality will be really damaged or affected. They will not make a decision to decrease the quality substantially, right, in order to pursue the business goals, because ultimately this costs the company money, which they currently pay to fix all of their current problems, right? So it is both beneficial for engineers and for managers. So, and planning is complicated, yes. Planning and estimation and figuring out all these moving parts. That's why you need to use the tools for that, right? So the planning tools that have capability to account for specialization of teams, for risk factors, to make it really flexible, right? So if you look at the interest of Steve Jobs, he at some point said, "Oh, we need to remove 70% of the roadmap," like because we see that we need to go another route, right? So that should be supported, right? And then you need to have a brilliant planning when you have your initial estimate, and then brilliant planning and quality planning when you adjust it to 70%, right? So you can't do it manually, right? Manually it requires a lot of effort. Right now, teams are taking days to replan their work, right? So this agile planning events, which I talked about in the previous video, so they take like a few days just to plan things, right? So it's complicated. I understand that, but if you create that, if you use the right tool for that supports this language of both engineers and managers, this is where you can have good results and good quality of planning, and no matter where you are in the process and which changes you made, and it will absorb all the sophistication for it. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and like, share, subscribe.